$46 million, one pot, one hand of poker, and the guy who dragged it across the table wasn't even holding a pair. Let me take you back. March of 2019. A private card room built above a members-only steakhouse in downtown Houston, Texas. No cameras allowed inside, no dealers on payroll from any licensed casino. Just a felt table, 8 leather chairs, and a hand-shuffled deck cut by a man in a white glove. The room was called the Cattlemen's Study. You've never heard of it. That was the point. Understand something about high-stakes Texas cash games. The ones you see on television, the ones with commentators and whole card cameras and sponsors. Those are the amateur tables compared to what happens in rooms like this. In Houston, in Dallas, in a handful of ranch houses outside Fort Worth, there is a circuit of underground private games where the buy-in starts at $1 million and the players show up in helicopters. The money is real. The chips are just placeholders. Everything settles by wire the next morning. The billionaire in our story, I'll call him Randall Voss, was oil and gas, third generation, net worth somewhere north of $2.8 billion, 61 years old. He'd been playing in that room every other Thursday for 9 years. He wasn't a bad player. He wasn't a great player either, but he had one specific tell that everyone in the room knew about, and none of them had ever managed to use against him. When Randall Voss had a monster hand, he got quiet. Not silent, quiet. He'd stop making small talk. He'd stop sipping his bourbon. He'd sit there with his hands folded and let the action come to him. When he was bluffing, he chattered. He laughed. He asked about your kids. Everyone knew this. Randall knew everyone knew this. So he'd started playing games with it, going quiet on garbage hands, running his mouth on the nuts. It made him unreadable, or at least, it made him unreadable to the regulars. The problem, that night in March, was that there was a new face at the table. Her name, the name she gave, was Marguerite Delaine, 29 years old from a small town outside Baton Rouge, Louisiana. She'd played on the tournament circuit for 6 years, cashed in a few respectable events, and made a living mostly grinding at stakes nobody bragged about. She was not famous. She was not sponsored. She was, on paper, the smallest bankroll at that table by a factor of 40. How did she get in? That's where it gets interesting. Marguerite had spent the previous 8 months working, quietly, as a private poker coach. Her clients were rich men in Houston who wanted to get better at the game without embarrassing themselves in public. 2 of those clients played in the Cattlemen's Study. One of them vouched for her. The other one staked her, put up $2 million of buy-in money in exchange for half of anything she won that night. She walked into that room in a plain black dress, no jewelry, and sat down in seat 4. Randall Voss sat in seat 7. They had never met. The game was no-limit Texas Hold'em. Blinds started at $5,000 and $10,000. By the 3rd hour, the smallest pot of the night had been worth more than most people's mortgages. Now, and this is important, I want you to understand what Marguerite had been doing for those first 3 hours. She had been folding. Not always, but mostly. She played maybe one hand in 8. When she did play, she played straightforward. She raised with strong cards. She checked with weak ones. She showed down honest hands twice, both times winners, both times exactly what a beginner would expect her to have. She was building a picture of herself as a cautious, book-taught, slightly nervous woman who had gotten into a game way over her head. Randall Voss was watching. Randall Voss was learning her, and Randall Voss was drawing the exact conclusion she wanted him to draw. Hour 4. The dealer, the man in the white glove, burns a card and lays out the flop. 9 of hearts, 9 of spades, 4 of hearts. Marguerite is in the small blind with king of clubs, jack of clubs. She has nothing. No pair, no draw worth chasing. She's got 2 overcards to the board and a backdoor flush possibility, which in poker math is roughly the equivalent of a lottery ticket. Randall Voss is on the button with pocket queens. 2 red ladies. On that board, 9, 9, 4. His hand is enormous. He's beating everything except a 9, or pocket aces or pocket kings. And based on the way the hand played out pre-flop, he's 95% sure nobody has any of those. There are 2 other players in the pot. Both fold to the flop bet. It's heads up. Marguerite versus Randall. Pot size going into the turn. About $1.1 million. The turn card comes. 3 of hearts. Now watch what happens. Marguerite bets. Not a small bet. Not a probing bet. She fires out $400,000 into a $1.1 million pot. It's a confident, controlled bet. The kind of bet a player makes when she's got a set of 9s or an overpair. Randall Voss, holding queens, doesn't flinch. He calls. Pot is now roughly 1.9 million. The river, 6 of hearts. 3 hearts on the board now. Anyone holding 2 hearts has a flush. And here's the thing about poker. What matters isn't what you have. It's what your opponent thinks you might have. She goes into the tank. 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes. Randall is watching her carefully. She's chewing the inside of her cheek. Her hands are folded on the felt. And then she slides her entire stack forward. All of it. Every chip in front of her. The number, when the dealer counts it down, is $22.1 million. Randall Voss has her covered. He's got maybe 40 million in front of him. Here's what he's thinking. And I know what he's thinking because he told the story himself, 6 months later, at a private dinner where somebody I know was in the room. He's thinking, this girl has been playing tight all night. She just bet the turn strong, which means she has something real. On the river, a heart comes, and she goes all in for 22 million into a $2 million pot. That is not a bluff. That is a value bet from a player who just made her hand. A flush. He's putting her on a flush. He looks at his queens. Queens are now beaten by any flush, by any 9, by any full house. Against a flush, his queens are dead. And here's the thing about Randall Voss. He didn't get to 2.8 billion by making stupid calls. In business, he folded 100 times for every deal he did. Discipline was his brand. He tanks for 4 full minutes. 4 minutes. The room is silent. The bourbon glasses aren't moving. The white-gloved dealer is a statue. And then Randall Voss slides his cards toward the muck, face down. He folds pocket queens on a board where he was, in reality, crushing her. Marguerite Delaine drags the pot. $46 million, all in. 2 million already in the pot, 22 from him, 22 from her. The math works out to 46 million on the table when you count blinds, antes, and the earlier street bets that had built the pot up. She stacks her chips. She doesn't smile. She doesn't say a word. She doesn't show the hand. That's the rule in cash games. You don't have to show. If your opponent folds, the cards go into the muck and nobody ever knows. Except Randall Voss couldn't stand not knowing. He asked, politely. He said, and I'm told this is a direct quote, just tell me, was it a flush? And she looked at him and said, I don't think you want to know, Mr. Voss. He insisted. He said he needed to know for his own education. He said he'd pay her another 100,000 just to show the hand. She shrugged. She flipped over the king of clubs and the jack of clubs. King high. Nothing. No pair, no draw that got there, no anything. She had bluffed him off the second best hand possible on that board with the worst hand at the table. Randall Voss stared at those 2 cards for a long time. Then he stood up. He didn't yell. He didn't throw anything. He just walked out of the room and, according to the 2 people I trust who were there, he did not play a hand of poker again for 19 months. Now, and this is the part most storytellers get wrong, a bluff that big is not luck. It's not gambling in the way you and I use that word. What Marguerite did was months of preparation. She had studied Randall Voss's hand histories through her clients. She knew he folded overpairs on flush completing rivers roughly 70% of the time when facing an overbet. She knew he read tight passive women as straightforward. She had engineered every hand of those first 3 hours to lock a specific image into his head, and then she used that image to unload $22 million of bluff onto a river card that told a story his own patterns forced him to believe. You want to hear something honest? I've dug into a lot of these tales, and the reason I do this channel is because I find the underground rooms fascinating and the licensed floors depressing in equal measure. Me, if I ever sit down at a table with real money on it, it's only places I've vetted myself, because I've seen too many stories where the payout stalls and the support team ghosts a player the moment they win. Where I actually play is in the description, kind of a personal list. Back to Houston. Word got around, the way it always does in those small circles. Within 2 weeks, every private room on the Gulf Coast had heard some version of the story. Within a month, Marguerite Delaine was getting invited to games she'd never have gotten near before. Within 6 months, she'd bought her mother a house in Baton Rouge, paid off her backer, and quietly disappeared from the tournament scene entirely. She still plays, just not where anyone can find her. Randall Voss, for what it's worth, came back to the Cattlemen study eventually. He plays smaller now. He's quieter now, in a different way. Not the fake quiet, not the calculated quiet, just older. And he's told the story on himself, at private dinners, more than once. He tells it as a lesson. He says the moment he folded those queens, he understood something about himself he'd been avoiding for 40 years. He said, and this is the line that stuck with me, I didn't lose to her cards. I lost to the version of her I built in my own head. That's the whole game right there. Poker isn't about what you're holding. It's about what the other person believes you're holding. Marguerite Delaine didn't beat Randall Voss with a king. She beat him with 3 hours of patience and a river card that arrived at exactly the right time. If underground room tales like this one are why you keep coming back, you already know what to do. So here's the question I want to leave you with. Was that a bluff or was that theft? Because there's a school of thought that says what she did, the coaching clients feeding her his patterns, the calculated table image, the engineered read, crosses a line that a straight-up bluff doesn't. And there's another school that says every great poker player does exactly that, and the only difference is she did it better. I know which side I'm on. What about you? Drop it below.